Captain William Hayes stood at the viewport of the Earth Defense Fleet command ship, watching the small transport vessel that carried the human delegation. His face remained calm, but his eyes followed the U.S. Intrepid with concern as it pulled away from the massive Galactic Council station. "Status report," he said quietly. Lieutenant Samantha Carter looked up from her console. "The Intrepid has cleared the docking bay, sir. All systems normal. Ambassador Nelson and her team are aboard and secure." Hayes nodded. The last 12 hours had been tense. After 3 weeks of negotiations with the Galactic Council, the humans had walked away. Not just walked away. They had withdrawn completely from the peace talks. Ambassador Olivia Nelson sat in her private quarters aboard the Intrepid. Her hands were steady as she arranged her notes, but anger burned inside her. The Council's demands had been unreasonable from the start. She had tried patience. She had tried compromise. In the end, none of it mattered. Ambassador, her aide, Patrick Miller, appeared at the doorway. "The captain says we'll be jumping to hyperspace in 10 minutes. "Thank you, Patrick." She looked at the young man's worried face. It was the right decision. "I know, ma'am. I just worry what happens next." Nelson smiled thinly. "So does the Council. That's why they're watching us leave instead of trying to stop us." On the Council station, High Counselor Zeri of the Trilaxian Empire watched the human ships with a mixture of satisfaction and contempt. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of pleasure among his kind. "They leave as predicted," he said to his advisors. "Humans are predictable in their stubbornness." Council member Taloros, an elder of the peaceful Novanians, seemed less certain. "Perhaps our demands were too severe, High Counselor." The humans sought reasonable terms. "Reasonable." Zeri made a dismissive gesture with his upper arms. "They are barely a century into space travel. They should be grateful we offered them any terms at all." "They defeated the Krell Armada," Tellurez reminded him quietly. "Luck," Zeri said. "Nothing more." Back on the command ship, Lieutenant Carter suddenly straightened. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from 3 Council vessels." Hayes moved to her station immediately. "Show me." The display showed subtle power fluctuations from a trio of warships positioned along their exit route. "They're charging weapons," Carter said. "Low level, but definite weapons charge." Hayes's expression hardened. "Targeting us?" "Not yet, sir, but they could lock on in seconds." Hayes opened a channel to the Intrepid. "Ambassador, we may have a situation." Nelson wasn't surprised. Just 3 hours ago, she had stood before the full Galactic Council as they presented their final offer. Humanity would surrender control of the Centauri, Ta Ceti, and Epsilon Eridani systems, humanity's richest resource worlds. Earth would agree to limit its military expansion and submit to Council oversight of all new technology. "This is not a negotiation between equals," a Council member had stated. "It is a formality to welcome you to the galactic community, under our guidance." Nelson had looked each Council member in the eyes, or eye stalks, or sensory organs. 27 species represented, most much older than humanity's presence among the stars. "We came seeking peace as equals," she had said clearly. "You seek our submission. Earth withdraws from these talks, effective immediately." The Council chamber had erupted in noise. Some angry, some alarmed. A few seemed secretly pleased. Hayes watched as the Intrepid changed course slightly, giving the suspicious Council vessels a wider berth. "Maintain distance, but don't show concern," he ordered. If they wanted a fight, they'd have started one in the docking bay. Carter nodded. "Yes, sir. All ships maintaining formation. Jump coordinates locked in." "Good. Let's go home." Hayes took one last look at the enormous Council station receding behind them. The real work begins now. As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, a message arrived from Earth Defense Headquarters. Hayes read it and allowed himself a small smile. "Lieutenant, inform the Intrepid that Project Sunforge has been approved." Carter looked up in surprise. "Sir, that's insurance," Hayes said. Just insurance. The stars stretched into lines as the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Galactic Council behind. But not for long. 2 days after the failed peace talks, the Grand Council chambers on Nexus Prime filled with angry voices. Representatives from 27 species argued across the circular room. The smooth stone walls, normally a place of order, now echoed with accusations. High Counselor Zeri slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor 3 times. The room gradually quieted. "This emergency session will come to order," he said. His voice carried authority, but those who knew him well could detect uncertainty. "We are here to discuss the human withdrawal." Withdrawal. The voice came from Kralvor, representative of the Brunari Collective. The insectoid being clicked his mandibles in what his species recognized as laughter. "Let us speak plainly. We drove them away with impossible demands." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Kralvor continued, his translator rendering his clicks and hisses into standard galactic language. "I have brought intelligence reports. Most of you have not seen them." He activated the central display. Above the council, holographic images appeared showing human ships, stations, and weapon systems. Many council members gasped. "These are not the capabilities of a minor species," Kralvor said. "The humans have hidden their true strength from us." On Earth, Admiral Gregory Powell sat at his desk reviewing the report from the peace talks. His office overlooked the Pacific Ocean, but he paid no attention to the beautiful view. Instead, his focus remained on the encrypted message that had arrived an hour ago. His aide, Lieutenant Alan Foster, entered after a brief knock. "Sir, Chief Intelligence Officer Winters is here." Powell nodded. "Send him in." Frank Winters was a short man with piercing eyes that missed nothing. He carried a small data drive in his hand. "Admiral, we've confirmed it," Winters said without greeting. 3 council species plan to ambush our delegation during the return journey. Powell's expression darkened. "Which ones?" "The Trulaxians, the Vorax, and a Kresh." High Counselor Zeri approved the plan personally. "So Ambassador Nelson was right to walk away." Winters placed the data drive on the desk. "More than right. We've uncovered evidence that these same 3 species deliberately sabotaged the peace talks. They planted false information about human capabilities throughout the council." Powell activated the drive. Data scrolled across his screen. "They want us to appear weak," Powell said. "Yes, sir. They've been telling the council we're primitive, barely spacefaring. Meanwhile, they'd been scanning our systems, looking for weaknesses." Back on Nexus Prime, the council chambers had grown quiet as Kralvor finished presenting his evidence. Elder Teleros, the oldest member of the council, rose slowly from his seat. His pale blue skin had darkened with age, and wisdom lines crossed his face. "We have made a grave error," Teleros said. His voice was soft, but all listened. "We dismissed the humans as primitive newcomers, but they defeated the Krell, who once threatened even us." Zeri shifted uncomfortably. "One victory does not." "They did not need our approval to expand," Teleros continued. "They came to us seeking peace, and we responded with demands for submission." A junior member of the Galactic Service approached Zeri and whispered in his ear. The High Counselor's 4 eyes widened. "What is it?" demanded a representative. Zeri seemed reluctant to speak. "We have received reports. Human mining operations are expanding into the unclaimed territories beyond our borders, areas we had planned to claim next cycle." The chamber erupted again. On a distant mining outpost, Captain Peter Rodriguez watched as the new quantum drills cut through asteroid rock like butter. The resource-rich belt would supply Earth's colonies for decades. His communications officer approached. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions. Council scout ships are observing us from the edge of the system." Rodriguez smiled. "Let them watch. We're not hiding anymore." On Earth, in a secure facility deep underground, scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Behind layers of security, Project Sunforge took shape. The massive installation would change the balance of power forever, but only a few humans knew of its existence. And across council space, rumors began to spread about the mysterious humans and their sudden withdrawal. Some said war was coming. Others whispered about ancient technologies the humans had discovered. No one knew the truth, but all could sense the galactic order shifting beneath their feet. 3 weeks after the failed peace talks, Dr. Allison Wright stood in the control center of Earth's primary defense station. Screens around her displayed all 12 human colonies. Her team of scientists and engineers watched nervously as she placed her hand on the activation panel. Quantum Defense Network activating in 3, 2, 1. She pressed down firmly. A wave of blue energy rippled across the displays, enveloping each human world in a subtle glow. The room held its breath. Then, one by one, confirmation signals appeared. "All nodes online," reported her assistant. "QDN is functioning at 100%. Admiral Powell stepped forward. "And the test?" Wright nodded to a technician who pressed a series of commands. On a separate screen, a simulated council scanner tried to lock onto New Terra, Earth's largest colony. "No lock," the technician announced. "The scanner sees nothing but empty space." Powell allowed himself a small smile. Every human settlement, every ship, every outpost, all invisible to conventional scanning and weapon systems. Far away, Commander Eric Johnson led a small fleet of 5 human ships toward the edge of council space. Pirates had long plagued this region, preying on merchant vessels from dozens of species. The council's patrol ships rarely ventured this far. "Multiple contacts ahead," his sensor officer reported, matching known signatures of the Black Star pirate armada. 15 vessels, heavily armed. Johnson nodded. "Deploy our new shields and weapons. Remember, we want to disable, not destroy." His small fleet accelerated toward the pirates, who initially moved to attack what they thought were vulnerable merchant ships. Their first volley of energy weapons passed harmlessly through the human vessel's adaptive shields. "Return fire," Johnson ordered. "Target engines, and weapons only." Precisely targeted beams shot from the human ships, slicing through the pirates' defenses with surgical precision. Within minutes, all 15 pirate vessels drifted powerless. "Send the message to Council Security," Johnson said. "Tell them they can collect their most wanted criminals at these coordinates." On Nexus Prime, the Council's Economic Ministry was in session. Representatives reviewed disturbing reports as markets across Council space showed signs of strain. "Human traders have withdrawn from 18 major exchange centers," said the Volbraxian minister. "Critical resource shortages are affecting multiple worlds." "Can we not replace these resources?" asked Zari. "Not quickly," replied the minister. "The humans controlled key supply chains that we didn't fully understand until now." In another part of the galaxy, Captain Diana Martinez guided her exploration vessel toward an uncharted planet. Long-range scans had detected unusual energy readings. "Surface mapping complete," her science officer reported. "There's definitely something artificial down there. And it's old, very old." Martinez and her team descended to the surface in a shuttle. What they found made them stop in amazement. Massive structures of an unknown metal stretched across the landscape. Strange symbols covered the walls, pulsing with soft light despite being clearly ancient. "These ruins predate any known civilization," the science officer whispered. "Even the oldest council races haven't seen technology like this." Martinez approached one wall. As she neared, the symbols rearranged themselves. A message formed in readable human language. "Welcome, worthy ones," she read aloud. "You have found what others have sought for millennia." Back at council headquarters, an emergency session was underway. Reports from across council space described human ships appearing and disappearing from sensors. The pirates who had terrorized trade routes for decades had been captured overnight. Several smaller council species were experiencing economic benefits from new private arrangements with human traders. Elder Teluros addressed the chamber. "We are witnessing the awakening of a species we gravely underestimated." High Counselor Zeri appeared subdued. Should we prepare for war? Before anyone could answer, a communication arrived. The council fell silent as Ambassador Nelson's face appeared on the main display. "Greetings, council members," she said calmly. "Humanity has a message for you. We do not seek war. We do not seek revenge. We will now chart our own path among the stars. Those who wish to join us as equals are welcome." The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Warlord Graf stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominance. His scaled skin reflected the red emergency lights as his fleet of 15 council enforcement vessels entered the Arcturus system. This system, rich with rare minerals, was claimed by the council but had recently seen human mining operations. "Status report," Graf demanded. "One human vessel detected," his second-in-command replied. "Military-class destroyer. They call it the U.S. Defiant." Graf laughed, showing rows of sharp teeth. "One ship. The humans send one ship to face us." On board the Defiant, Major Kevin Russell watched the approaching council fleet with steady eyes. His crew moved with calm efficiency despite being outnumbered 15-1. "All stations report ready, sir," his executive officer said. Russell nodded. "Open a channel to the council fleet." The main screen flickered, showing Warlord Graf's imposing figure. "Human vessel," Graf growled. "This system is claimed by Galactic Council Authority. Your mining operations are illegal. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Russell remained seated, his posture relaxed. "Warlord Graf, we found no record of council claim to this system. Our miners operate here legally. We ask you to withdraw." Graf's yellow eyes narrowed. "You have 1 hour to evacuate your personnel or face the consequences." The screen went dark. Russell turned to his weapons officer. "Activate the quantum defense grid. Silent mode only." A soft blue glow briefly surrounded the Defiant, then faded from visible sight. 55 minutes later, the council fleet moved into attack formation. The Dominance fired first, launching a barrage of energy torpedoes toward the human ship. The crew braced for impact. The torpedoes reached the Defiant and passed right through it. More weapons fire followed, with the same result. Nothing touched the human ship. "Impossible." Graf slammed his fist on his command console. "Target their engines. Fire everything." Again, the weapons simply passed through the Defiant as if it wasn't there. Russell opened a channel. "Warlord Graf, we've shown restraint. Now I'll demonstrate what one human ship can do." The Defiant fired a single pulse. It spread across the council fleet, and suddenly all weapon systems on the 15 ships shut down. "What is this trickery?" Graf roared as his ship's weapons went offline. A second pulse disabled the engines of 5 council vessels, including the Dominance. They drifted helplessly. On Earth, Admiral Diane Foster received news of the confrontation during a meeting with Earth's Leadership Council. The 12 men and women who guided humanity's expansion among the stars looked at her expectantly. "Major Russell reports the situation is contained," Foster said. "No casualties on either side. The council fleet is disabled, but their life support remains functional." President Alan Morgan nodded. "Good. We don't want bloodshed, but we won't be bullied either." A junior officer entered the room and whispered something to Foster. Her expression hardened. "The Galactic Council has issued a formal protest," she told the others. "They're demanding explanations for what they call our illegal defensive technologies and accusing us of violating technological development treaties." "Treaties we never signed," said Defense Minister Julia Rice. "True," Foster replied. "But they're claiming our technologies represent a danger to galactic stability." In deep space on the edge of the conflict zone, an ancient vessel stirred. It had observed for millennia, watching civilizations rise and fall. Now it focused its attention on the confrontation between humans and the council races. A message transmitted across space, reaching both human and council leadership simultaneously. It came in all languages, clear and unmistakable. The Ancient Ones watched this conflict with interest. The cycle continues, but perhaps differently this time. The message caused confusion on both sides. No one knew its source or meaning. Back in the Arcturus system, Major Russell prepared to leave the disabled Council fleet. He had orders to return to Earth immediately. "What about them?" his executive officer asked, gesturing to the drifting Council ships. "Their distress call has been sent," Russell said. "Council rescue ships will arrive within days. They have supplies to last weeks. They'll be uncomfortable, but safe." The Defiant slipped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind 15 Council ships and many unanswered questions. 1 month after the confrontation in the Arcturus system, Ambassador Ryan Gibson watched as another alien ship landed at the new human diplomatic outpost on Proxima Station. This marked the 5th delegation from a minor council race to arrive secretly in the past week. "Another one," said his assistant, Lily Chen. "The Volari this time." Gibson nodded. "They're a farming species. Their worlds produce food for nearly a quarter of Council space." The Volari delegation emerged from their ship. They looked somewhat like tall, thin humans with light purple skin and 4 arms. Their leader approached Gibson with a respectful bow. "Ambassador, we come seeking friendship with humanity," the Volari leader said. "The Council no longer serves the interests of all members." Gibson led them inside. Earth welcomes peaceful relations with all species. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council chamber had become a place of constant argument. The once unified body now divided into clear factions. "We must renew talks with the humans," insisted Representative Kelser of the Tradex Union. "Our economies suffer without their trade." "Weakness," countered Warlord Grath, still angry after his defeat. "They humiliated our fleet. We should gather our forces and crush them before they grow stronger." Elder Teloras watched the debate with sad eyes. "We created this situation with our arrogance," he said softly. "Now we may all pay the price." On Earth, scientist Victoria Summers bent over her workbench. Pieces of recovered Council technology lay spread before her. For weeks, she had studied the devices captured during past encounters. "Dr. Summers," her lab assistant entered with excitement. "The reverse engineering team has results." Summers looked up. "Show me." The assistant handed her a datapad. Summers reviewed the information, her eyes widening. "Their faster-than-light drives use an outdated method," she said. "If we combine their approach with our quantum technology, we could travel 10 times faster," finished the assistant. Summers nodded. "And their weapons systems all share the same weakness. They never thought to shield against phase-shifted energy." Meanwhile, a small alien ship approached Earth under cloak. It carried Council Representative Lorax, who had left his position without permission. His species resembled large praying mantises, and his green exoskeleton showed signs of age. The human security ships detected him despite his cloak and escorted him to a secure landing facility. Admiral Foster met him personally. "Representative Lorax," she said, "this is unexpected." Lorax's translator converted his clicking speech to English. "Admiral, I come with warning. A radical faction plans a preemptive strike against human worlds. They have gathered a battle fleet in secret." Foster's expression remained neutral. "We are aware of some unusual movements." "You don't understand," Lorax insisted. "They've activated ancient weapons platforms, weapons forbidden by Council law for generations." On a special broadcast to all human colonies, Earth's President Laura Collins addressed her people. Her calm face appeared on screens across a dozen worlds. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies," she began. "For generations, we sought peaceful coexistence with galactic civilization. Recent events have forced us to stand alone. While we continue to desire peace, we must be prepared for those who might choose conflict." Millions of humans listened as she detailed new defense measures and resource allocations. No panic followed her words, only quiet determination. Deep within the ancient ruins discovered by Captain Martinez, a team of human scientists worked to understand the mysterious technology. A holographic interface had activated, showing strange symbols that slowly translated themselves into human language. Dr. Paul Roberts watched as new information appeared. "This is incredible," he whispered to his team. "This isn't just technology. It's a warning." The ancient AI spoke through its holographic interface. "Your species breaks the pattern," it said. For millions of years, the cycle repeated. Races rise, grow arrogant, war, and fall. You withdrew rather than submit or attack. The cycle may be breaking. Roberts looked at his fellow scientists. "What cycle?" he asked the AI. "The cycle of extinction," it answered simply. "The cycle that has reset galactic civilization 27 times before." The economic crisis spread across Council space like a virus. On the trading world of Mercantis, food riots broke out as shipments failed to arrive. The Volari, once reliable suppliers of agricultural products, had reduced exports after signing a private agreement with humanity. In the council chambers, the emergency session had lasted for days. Representatives looked tired and worried as reports of shortages continued to arrive. "High Counselor Zeri must answer for this disaster," said Representative Kelser. "His policies have brought us to the brink of collapse." Murmurs of agreement filled the room. Zeri, once powerful and confident, now looked small in his ceremonial seat. "I acted in the interests of the council," he protested weakly. "You acted in your own interest," countered Elder Teloras, "and the interests of the Trilaxian Empire." The vote came swiftly. For the first time in 300 years, a High Counselor was removed from power. Zeri left the chamber in disgrace, escorted by security officers. Near the edge of human space, Captain Stephen Grant piloted his stealth vessel through an asteroid field. Intelligence had reported unusual signals coming from this region, and he'd been sent to investigate. "Contact at 27 Mark IV, reported his sensor officer. "Hidden in that large asteroid." Grant studied the readings. "Definitely not natural. Can you get a visual?" The main screen showed a metallic structure built into the asteroid. Its design matched Council technology. "It's a listening post," Grant said. "Probably been monitoring our communications for months." He made a quick decision. "Prepare the EMP device. Let's give our friends something to think about." The human vessel moved closer, then launched a small probe. It attached to the asteroid and pulsed with blue energy. All lights on the Council station went dark. "Direct hit," said the weapons officer. "Their systems are completely disabled." Grant nodded with satisfaction. "Send the coordinates to command. Tell them we found another one." On Earth, in a secure research facility, a group of alien scientists worked alongside human counterparts. These scientists had defected from the Council, bringing valuable knowledge with them. Dr. Linda Harris welcomed the newest arrival, a Brenari physicist named Clenvar. "Your brother took a great risk sending you to us," Harris said. Clenvar's mandibles clicked in what humans had learned was a gesture of agreement. "Kralvor believes humanity represents the best hope for genuine progress. The Council has stagnated, using the same technologies for centuries." "And you brought information about Council defensive systems?" Harris asked. "Complete schematics," confirmed Clenvar. "Their shields have a fundamental weakness. They cannot adapt to changing energy frequencies." In a massive underground facility, General Jason Miller watched as the final touches were made to the new fleet. Unlike traditional ships, these vessels had no crew quarters, no life support systems. "The Ghost Fleet is ready, Stir," reported his aide. Miller nodded with approval. "Begin deployment. Keep them cloaked until they reach their assigned positions." The Ghost Fleet was humanity's newest creation. Unmanned vessels controlled by artificial intelligence derived from the ancient ruins. They could react faster than any human pilot, coordinating their actions with perfect precision. Light years away, on the peaceful human colony of New Horizon, the first warning came too late. A fleet of Council warships appeared suddenly in orbit, weapons already firing. Governor Carl Dawson barely had time to activate the emergency broadcast. This is New Horizon. We are under attack. Multiple Council warships. Heavy bombardment. The message reached Earth within minutes. In the Defense Command Center, Admiral Foster immediately ordered a response. Deploy defense forces to New Horizon immediately. All available ships. Authorization code Foster Alpha 79. President Collins joined her moments later. How bad? They struck without warning, Foster said grimly. The colony's shields are holding for now, but they won't last long against that much firepower. Collins nodded. Deploy the Ghost Fleet and activate Project Sunforge. Foster looked surprised. Madam President, Sunforge is still experimental. It's time to show the Council exactly what they've provoked, Collins said firmly. Across human space, military vessels changed course, heading toward New Horizon at maximum speed. And from hidden locations, the unmanned ships of the Ghost Fleet emerged from Cloak, moving to intercept the attackers. The Radical Council faction had launched their surprise attack, believing they would find an undefended colony. Instead, they were about to face humanity's full response. 6 months after withdrawing from peace talks, humanity stood as an independent power in the galaxy. The attack on New Horizon had changed everything. When the Council faction launched their surprise assault, they expected an easy victory. Instead, they encountered the Ghost Fleet and witnessed the awesome power of Project Sunforge. The Sunforge was not a weapon as many had feared. It was a massive energy shield that could extend to cover an entire planet, powered by directly harnessing the energy of a star. When activated, it had protected New Horizon completely, while the Ghost Fleet disabled the attacking ships with surgical precision. Not a single human life was lost that day. Now, in the Grand Council chamber on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Olivia Nelson walked confidently toward the central podium. The room looked different. The raised platform, where High Counselor Zeri once sat, had been removed. In its place was a round table. The message was clear. All species would now meet as equals. Elder Teleros greeted Nelson with a respectful bow. Ambassador, we welcome humanity back to these chambers. Nelson smiled. Thank you, Elder. Earth appreciates this invitation. Around the table sat representatives from all Council worlds, including the smaller races that had formed separate alliances with humanity. Notable by their absence were the Trilaxians, whose empire had collapsed after Zeri's removal and the economic crisis that followed. We are prepared to negotiate a new treaty, said Teleros, one that recognizes humanity as a full and equal partner in galactic affairs. Nelson placed a data pad on the table. Here are our terms. They are non-negotiable, but I believe you will find them fair. The terms were displayed for all to see. Humanity demanded recognition of its sovereign territory, including the systems the Council had previously tried to claim. They required acknowledgement of their right to develop technology without oversight. But they also offered trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and defensive alliances that would benefit all parties. Far away, Captain William Hayes stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned U.S. Ascendant. The ship represented the best of human innovation combined with knowledge from their new alien allies. Around the Ascendant flew vessels from 5 different species, all part of a joint exploration mission. Captain, all ships report ready, said his executive officer. Hayes nodded. Signal the fleet. We're proceeding to the uncharted regions beyond the Sagittarius Arm. This mission wasn't about conquest or claiming resources. It was about discovery and building bridges between species who had chosen to work with humanity rather than against it. On Earth, Dr. Paul Roberts continued his work with the ancient alien intelligence found in the ruins. Its holographic form had become more defined as they learned to communicate better. Your species has accomplished something rare, the AI told him. You have broken the pattern of the cycle. What exactly is this cycle? Roberts asked. The question had puzzled humanity for months. For millions of years, advanced civilizations have followed the same path. They expand, develop technology, grow arrogant, and either destroy themselves or are destroyed by others. Then younger races emerge and repeat the pattern. The AI's form shifted, showing images of long-dead worlds and forgotten species. 27 times the cycle has repeated. 27 times all advanced life in the galaxy has fallen back to primitive states. What made humans different? Roberts wondered. You withdrew rather than fought. You demonstrated power without destruction. You offered partnership rather than domination. Small differences that changed everything. Back in the council chamber, the new treaty was approved unanimously. As Nelson prepared to leave, Elder Teleros approached her privately. Your people have transformed our understanding in half a year, he said. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of civilization. We were wrong. Nelson smiled. The ancient intelligence told us something important. The galaxy doesn't need conquerors. It needs builders. As humanity took its place among the stars, the cycle that had repeated for millions of years began to change. Not through war or domination, but through cooperation and respect. Humanity's withdrawal from the peace talks hadn't been an act of aggression, but the first step toward a more just cosmic order. And across the vast galaxy, the ancient intelligences that had watched civilizations rise and fall for eons observed with something like hope for the first time in millions of years.